Okay, so when I heard about this documentary, Alaskan Nets, right, it was very intriguing because Alaska be a cold fucking place. You know what I mean? So just the thought of playing basketball, you just think, God damn, because I don't know, for some weird reason, I imagine them playing outside, right? You ain't playing basketball outside. Hey, that would be motherfucking impressive, right? If you're playing basketball outside, icicles for that's not the film. That's not the film, people. But yeah, it's about this last native reservation in Alaska. You know what I mean? And so that was intriguing. Then I get hit up by AJ, right? And so I'm like, yo, okay, awesome. I was wondering how this was going to be. So, yeah, it is directed by Jeff Harasimowicz. I am going to butcher so many names because there's some long ass words here, man. Now, Jeff, he also produces it with Ryan Welsh. It's executive produced by Sahir Iqbal, John Schumacher, and Chris Pratt. It's edited by Jeff and Welsh. Cinematography, Jeff Welsh and Ryan Roseman. Cinematography, Jeff Welsh, Roseman, and Daniel Zatiz. It is associate produced by Stephen Pedersen, Heather York, Bob Rennick, Amy Rennick, and Louise Faxton. Sound was Jeff Welsh and Roseman. Coloring was handled by Cosmic, Dan Olson, and Russ Lasson, along with Misha Young. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, also, all right, let's Chris Pinkston, Scott Channery, Rob Marshall, Jeff Martin, Brian Long, Denny Media Holdings, Craig Harrisomrush, and Reed Harrisomrush, Kate Mock, Christian Hartwell, and Music Bed handled music. So that's everyone involved, people. Now, the gist of it is this: off the coast of southeast Alaska lies an island, remote, largely hidden from the outside world, and home to the Tsimshian natives of Alaska's last remaining native reserve, Metlakatla. For more than a century, two sacred traditions have defined Metlakatla: fishing and basketball. I mean, that's a combination, right? It's that strange combination. And it's a small place, right? Which then, there is a thing at the beginning, and the guy's like, in the 1970, I got into my busted pickup truck. I was on the ferry, and my friend, he was like, "Yo, you hear that? You hear that pounding noise?" He's like, "We're going to a reservation. What could it be?" He's like, "Hey, that's the sound of the basketballs bouncing." And I'm like, hey, that's a fun story. But with a place so small, could that really be true? Could that really be true? I don't know, people. I don't know. And you kind of wonder how this came about, right? So, Jeff, we've got a director's statement. He's like, I've always been drawn to sports stories. Hoosiers, Rudy, Friday Night Lights. The list goes on. Sports, I mean, I would have thrown in never ever Sunday. What's that motherfucking film, man? Any Given Sunday. Any Given Sunday. Yeah, I love that film. Anyway, let's get back to Jeff's statement, right? The list goes on. Sports are a great unifier, a way for people from so many different backgrounds, experiences, and places to rally around a common interest, a common passion. But more than that, sports and great sports movies reveal something deeper about the human condition. The stories become less about the game itself and more about the people playing it. When I stumbled across the story of Metlakatla, I was instantly hooked. A, I had no idea basketball was akin to religion in this remote Alaskan village. B, I had no idea high school kids and younger were also commercial fishermen struggling to provide for their families. And C, I had no idea that there was only one remaining native reserve in the state of Alaska. The intersections of A, B, and C convinced me this was going to be a special story. So we went all in. I got married in October in 2017, moved to Alaska in November 2017 to begin making this film, and proceeded to spend almost every dollar I had over the next 3 years to see it through. The rest is history. I'm a believer that things happen for a reason. And when you see what took place during the making of this film, I challenge those who believe otherwise. This is a special story about a largely hidden group of people from a corner of the world most people have never heard of. Stories of indigenous communities and their resilience in the face of environmental, economic, and societal hardship could not be more important. I'm honored and humbled to tell the story of Metlakatla, Alaska, and their beautiful yet delicate way of life. So yeah, that's the story. And I think one of the big things is, I mean, Jeff doesn't mention it, but I imagine it must have been a thing, right? Because they have only won the state championship one time in 1984. 1984, right? So it's just like you kind of think to yourself, how is this such a religion? You know what I mean? Like, why is it so passionate when you've only ever won the big prize once? Once. And you know what I mean? Like, what's that? 38 years ago? You know what I mean? It's a long up. I mean, then it wasn't as long because it was, the 2017 season. But you think like it was so long ago. So why the fuck is it such an embedded institution? Right? That's the big thing that you wonder. Now we start off mainly looking at like the fishing aspect of the place. And yeah, these kids are going out and fishing and diving, which you just think, I mean, that's kind of crazy, right? It's fucking crazy. Like they're talking that they're at school, but it's this belief that that you're gonna be a fisher person, right? So why fuck with school? You know what I mean? So a lot is trying to get people to come to school and study because even if they're on the basketball team and playing well and all of that, it's that thing where if your grades are shit, you ain't playing, you know? But yeah, there's so many questions, right? Because there is text at the beginning, the sawmill shut, climate change has decimated the fishing. So industry isn't quite there. That's why everyone's diving. Now, there are questions here, But they talk about the dangers of diving, but they don't really explain the diving, just that you go down attached to an air tube, right? Because you're just getting cucumber and I forget the other thing. So it's not like you're trying to catch moving objects. So they go down, right? But it's like, okay, obviously, if the pipe, the tube where your air is coming from, if that gets tangled, disconnected, yes, I get that. But it's like, are these people diving solo? Like, and if they're, why solo? Right? There's so many questions attached to it which aren't answered. That is a frustration, right? There are things here which get mentioned, but we don't get the depth I would have liked. You know what I mean? I was curious, people. I'm curious, right? So we have all of this at the dive-in and all this struggle. And it's just this thing about trying to get these kids to focus and be committed to school. We then have the big thing of like, there's always deaths because of the diving or just fishing is a crazy thing. Like, and I think fishing in such a cold place, right? So you have all of this. So people going to school and then you get a call and it's been an accident. And it's just like, yo, who the fuck? Because everyone basically has someone in their family who's out there fishing, right? So, no, like that call is brutal. It's a brutal thing. So we're seeing all of this. Now, there is a school counselor, but you kind of think, ah, man, there needs to be more, right? There needs to be more. But we're following these kids on this season. You know what I mean? It's this season where it's like this is the best opportunity they have to win the championship, right? Now, I think it's not really explained why that is the best opportunity, right? What makes these kids so different? Because we see these little motherfuckers arguing like shit. Oh my god. Sometimes you just like you're watching it and you just be like, yo, slap that little motherfucker. But then you're just like, oh yeah, these are kids. You know what I mean? Be like, yeah, I mean, these are kids. Okay. All right. I guess we gotta give them motherfucking slack. You know what I mean? But it's a curious thing just watching these crazy dynamics because they're all no, they're not. I was gonna say they're all basically related. They're not. Like a few of them are like cousins, and there is what like our two kind of main people that we're following, like the DJ and the Danny, right? Basically, their parents are related because the brothers, they're like a brother. There's two brothers and sisters, and they both married the other one. You know what I mean? Like the brother married the sister, and the sister married the other brother. Yeah, you get it, right? That's what happened. So it's like basically family. It's different surnames, but you know what I mean? But so we're following them, and they're close, but yeah, there's this weirdness that they just argue like shit on the call, right? Which isn't really explained. And you kind of think to yourself, right, surely there must be a way of fixing this because it just keeps on happening, right? It's an odd one. It's an odd one. I'm a bit like, yo, what's happening around this? Also, there's kind of questions of, you know what I mean? Because it said that there's been other teams since the championship team in '84 that have been great, had great players. So you do kind of wonder as well, then do scouts ever come? Is there ever the hope, right? The chance of getting scholarships, getting, you know, picked up for like the NBA or European team, like anything like that? Is there these other things? Because that's always a big thing, right? In impoverished communities, sometimes the way out is through sport. But that didn't really seem to be a thing here, which you do kind of go, huh, why? Like, what's the deal? What's going on? Like, again, not answered. It's not my fucking answered. But man, I am a fan of a sports film, right? There is something about watching games. You know what I mean? Like those last minute shots, those buzzer beaters. It's just the tension of it just gets you pumped. It gets you pumped, man. Which is always just like, oh shit, what's happening? What's gonna go down? You know what I mean? Uh I will say the coach seemed like a nice dude. Seemed like a real nice dude. He was committed, right? The abuse my man was getting is insane. He can't give a he can't give a motivating talk though. His speech, like it's just like, yo, son, practice your speeches, man, because they don't have the gravitas. Like, it's just like, come on, you gotta pump these little motherfuckers up, yo. But it is captivating, right? There are parts of it, which isn't basketball, and you're following the fishing and you're hearing people talk about, the struggles and everything, which is interesting, right? But it would have been nice to get a little bit more context to it all, you know? Right? Like at the very end, you find out that the coach had a long-term girlfriend. Like we knew nothing about some of their personal lives or the other things that drive them, that keep them motivated, you know? Which it would have been interesting to find out some of this stuff. But yeah, when we're watching the game, like it's crazy. It's crazy. You're definitely on it. You're like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna go? Which then it does give the thing of we don't need the motivational music during the game. A game has enough tension just watching the fucking game, right? The way it's getting played out. So we didn't need the music. And especially, why you starting the music in the first fucking quarter? That was a little baffling. That was, you're just like, yo, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? The other frustration was there was subtitles which were tiny, right? No bass behind them. So it's just white on light backgrounds, which is always infuriating. Then you've got other text. It was bigger text, but it's all cap, right? It's all cap. So it's not big enough just to see. So I'm still having to stop the fucking thing to try and read this information. Then it's all capped. So it's not even you can differentiate the letters from each other, which again, it's just like, what are we doing? It could have been narrated, right? I don't know why they chose to do fucking subtitles. Just narrate it. Have someone say the words. What are you doing? You know what I mean? It's infuriating. So listen, it's not a perfect documentary, right? But it's intriguing as a motherfucker. You want to see how it all pans out. I mean, you basically know how it's going to pan out, because why are they making a documentary otherwise, right? But you're intrigued to see. And it is like, whoo, it's now baiting, it's now biting. It's now biting. One thing that was curious, right, is we see how the basketball team travels, but you're like, how did their cheerleaders get there? You know what I mean? That's one thing. I'm just like, how did cheerleaders? Because we don't see like we only ever see the cheerleaders at the games, right? So you think, how they travel? You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, do girls play basketball? Like, what else is going on? You know, it was just these weird questions that you kind of think of during this whole thing. And we're like, yo, what else is going on, man? Like, what? But yeah, no, it's an intriguing thing. It's an intriguing thing. If you do like sports documentaries, I imagine you will dig it. I imagine you will dig it. It's a little long. You know what I mean? I will say that it is a little long, right? It's about what is it? It's about 2 hours, just over 2 hours. No, I think it's just slightly under 2 hours, right? So it is a little long, but yeah, I think the tension of the games does make up for all of that. So, Alaskan Nets, it drops Friday, people. So, yeah, maybe you want to check out and see how these little motherfuckers do. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you can because it will be there. All your favorite VODs. All right. So, yeah, Alaskan Nets.